Hello, everyone, and welcome to At Home Arcade. My name is Paul. Join me and my friends, Alex and Patrick, as we discuss our week in gaming.
Hey guys, what have you guys been up to this week? Patrick, what have you been up to?
Playing more Splatoon, actually.
Okay.
Grinded out the single player campaign. I played a little bit of it last week, and I mentioned that. Really only gets better. Each island has about 8 little activities to do on it to be able to clear the island of the fuzziness that's on it. And I can say wholeheartedly, I only hate 2 of them, which is pretty good out of the whole game. Pretty fun all the way through. Very put together, Nintendo polish. So there wasn't any game breaking mechanic, and most things worked, which was refreshing, especially because it's such a new game. Overall, really enjoyed the campaign. And I even got Paul a little bit in on it this week. I think we've converted him. If you want to talk about that, Paul.
Oh boy, did you? I was going to say, you sold it hard, but, you didn't oversell it. I really enjoy it, actually. Um, especially as someone who's not a traditional Nintendo fan, I didn't grow up with like an N64 and stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
Paul had no childhood.
Paul had no childhood.
Paul
I
had no
mean,
Nintendo. Paul, wasn't your first game system a PlayStation?
Yeah, I think PlayStation.
yeah, the first of my own.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
You didn't
Um,
really get to play the Nintendo. I don't think you had a 64. I think you said a Super Nintendo, right?
no, it was an NES, the
Yeah.
original one.
Right.
And of course I was very young, so I didn't get to play it much.
Mhm.
But yeah, like Splatoon, I really enjoy it, honestly.
So you have mostly been playing the multiplayer, right? Because I know we've been playing that together.
Oh yeah, that
Um,
that is all I've touched. And I
okay.
and
Okay.
you touched on it last week, but really the quickness of it is just so nice. It's like, I only have maybe 30 minutes. It's like, well, let's play a couple because
Right.
they're so short.
Right.
And
Right.
and I'm actually okay at the game, which is new for me. Being good at a game. So,
So I
I
actually
really
have a
like it.
question about the story.
Okay.
What maybe I misunderstood. What is it? What do you do in the story? Because the multiplayer is
That's
pretty
good.
straightforward, right? You paint
Right.
up the map, you paint up the baddies,
Right.
you versus the other team. What is the story then?
Okay. So that's a great question. At the very beginning of the game, when you launch it, you're put into the square, and the game does a good job of saying like, hey, here are the shops, or like kind of pointing it out to you as you first launch the game. And it says, hey, you can go straight into those double doors for a multiplayer, or there's this weird old man sitting over here by a grate that you might want to go check out. And when you check that out, it's the old man who ends up being like the catalyst for the story very shortly after he gets kidnapped. And that's why you run into these islands. But really, what the game looks like, you're going around into each individual island to try to find the old man. And you go down to like little pipes, kind of like Mario, sort of. And you have a mini game. So you have to complete an objective with a gun, obviously. And you can either pick from like 3, or sometimes you're given 1. And in few cases, you're given 0. And you have to complete whatever objective that is. For instance, a really easy one, really easy example is destroy all the boxes within the time limit. And you're riding a rail and you have to shoot all the boxes for the next rail to progress. And you have to make it all the way to the end, which means you have to kill all the boxes. But there's really good variation in between. There's some of them that they'll, like the example I just gave, they have 3 different versions of it, but it still feels fresh.
Nice. So
Okay.
instead of we're sorry your princess is in another castle, it's we're sorry your old man is on another island.
Basically, yeah,
That's
exactly
great.
that. And there's like
So
little mini bosses too at each island. And it's an interesting like twist in the beginning that they did with some of the characters that I'm not going to spoil for anybody who's going to play the game. But go ahead, Alex.
fair enough.
Yeah. So there's this game. It's pretty old now. It was on the 360, and this was the second in the series, I believe. It was called
Okay.
De Blob 2.
Oh yeah, I know the
Mm-hmm.
blob.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I played a lot of that. And it's anytime you talk about painting up and shooting up the bad guys, painting the island and all that, it reminds me of De Blob, where basically you went through and did exactly the same thing. It was very not exactly the same thing. That's why I wanted to see what the story was about.
Yeah.
In De Blob, it's all you dropped into like an island and it's all
Yeah.
black and white, and your objective is to paint a percentage of the island as much as you can. So
Right. In this, I would say gives me more Mario because I also played the Blob.
Yeah.
This gives me more Mario Sunshine, where
Okay.
like Mario Sunshine, you have the ick on the island, and you have like the squirt gun, and you're trying to clear it off the island. This is very similar, where you're going and you're doing these mini games, basically getting these salmon eggs and your little buddy you throw to eat all the fuzz. And then that's how you progress through the island, and you get like the salmon eggs from completing the mini games, and it's just kind of that feedback loop until you hit like the mini boss for that island. And then really you don't even have to do the mini boss if you can have enough salmon eggs. For instance, I stocked up and I got 12,000, which is actually kind of
Oh
a lot.
my.
And then I walked from one island to the other, and I unlocked everything on that island. And the game does a really good job, because sometimes when you go into like the grate to do the mini game, it costs a certain amount of eggs. So like 50, for instance, which doesn't seem like a lot. But I was bone dry one time. I had spent every last egg, and I was like, okay. Game also lets you replay some of the levels, so you can get some extra salmon eggs back if you're in my predicament. But the thing I really enjoy about it is that red balloons will randomly spawn in, and you can shoot them, and then they'll give you like 25 salmon eggs, which isn't a lot, but it's perfect for my scenario. So I found when I was close, but I didn't have quite enough, the game would hand me it via a balloon, or your little buddy will be like, oh, hey, I smell something, and he'll run over to an area, you shoot on the ground, and then you get something. And that's usually salmon eggs in this example. So the game does a very good job of like knowing how many you have, and if you're sitting in an area too long, it'll throw you a bone. So you're not stuck at any point because of that. And you have more than enough in like that egg economy to go to the next island and unlock everything, because that's what I did.
Ooh.
So you don't need to go. And if you hate one of the mini games, and trust me, I hate two of them, you can just skip them, because they're not necessary to unlock like the mini boss, and they're not necessary to be able to move on to the next island. So they don't trap you in a, hey, you have to complete every single thing before you can progress, which I really like, because not all of those levels were fun.
Okay, that makes
Fair
sense.
enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. What about you, Alex? What have you been playing?
Yeah, so before I talk about what I've been playing, there's actually 2 games coming out next week that I'm really excited to start playing and to talk about next week. Today, I was just kind of browsing on the Xbox, and there's this game Deathloop that's being released for the Xbox. It's coming to Game Pass on the 20th, I believe.
Okay, yeah.
From my limited understanding, it seems that it was already out. It's not a brand new game. It's just brand new to Xbox game.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks really cool. It's done by Arcane, which is a Bethesda studio, whatever you want to. It's a company under Bethesda, the same one that did Dishonored.
Yeah, I think they did Dishonored. And
Dishonored's the only one I know that they did.
same, honestly.
But it looks really cool. So there's these like 2 assassins, and it's just a shooter game, but it seems almost like it's in the future a little bit. I saw one of the trailers that I saw, or maybe it was a picture, it showed a laser beam coming out of the gun, and it reflected off of something to kill the enemy in a different, like the projectile of the laser shot off of something, reflected, and killed the bad guy there. So that looks pretty cool.
Very dope.
Yeah, I'm a little bit familiar with it. To my understanding, it's kind of like a Groundhog Day sort of vibe, where you're constantly trying to, because you're like an assassin, and you're constantly trying to kill a different one, and you're running around trying to do it. But at a certain point in time, the day resets, except for your player character gets all the knowledge from the previous experience, right? So it's not necessarily, I know that kind of sounds like a roguelike, but it's not, because it's more narrative driven, which is interesting. At least from what I've heard about it.
Right. And honestly, the only thing that I really heard about it that I thought was kind of neat was it has a multiplayer like functionality, but
Mhm.
like not in the way you think. So like you know how you said that there's like two assassins, you and then like someone else?
Right.
Apparently for the multiplayer, uh so when someone joins your game, they get to play as that other assassin.
Really?
Yeah, so it's not just like an AI thing. Like they can take over.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. Because if you look at the game on Game Pass, it says it classifies it as an action shooter first person multiplayer, but under
Uh,
multiplayer, it says 1 to 2.
okay.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
yeah, that's basically 1v1 me on Rust, right?
Right.
Oh man, I wish.
I
Yeah, we're
know.
not talking about Modern Warfare 2 because it's not the correct one.
So, that's the first one coming out. The second one is Slime Rancher 2, which is
Ah,
pretty cool. If you guys aren't familiar with the first one, basically you're on this strange like alien planet and there's these slimes all around and you have a gun to suck them up into your pouch and take them back to your farm and you can breed them and raise them and you can give them food so they get bigger. There's and it's the thing that I liked about the first one is one, it's a very chill, relaxed game where you don't have to put a lot of brain power into it. And I feel that those games are the most underrated.
Right.
I feel like everybody talks about the Call of Duties, the Assassin's Creeds, the story-driven multiplayer game of the year,
Right.
but there's
mhm.
not enough hype around the more chill games that you can just pick up and you're in a party with friends and you don't have to focus on the story of the game. You can shoot to shit with your friends while playing this game.
Right. Or
Right.
if you
So,
get busy and a bunch of interruptions, it's all good.
Yeah.
exactly. So you have this gun and you suck them up, you raise them, you can breed them. It's interesting because some of the slimes in the first one didn't quite mesh with the other slimes and they would eat them and create these like hostile slimes.
Oh, geez.
So
Oh wow.
there's little secrets like that too, and it's
Right.
a really interesting game. So I'm excited for that this week.
That's cool.
Awesome.
And really, I've heard of Slime Rancher, haven't played it, but the people who have played it, who I've interacted with, really love the game. So I don't think it's necessarily. I mean, to your point, it's not that it's a bad game, but I don't think enough people are looking for that experience because the other experiences are being marketed more heavily.
Yeah. My
Mm,
only
But now,
complaint about the first one was the tutorial system wasn't really there for me.
hmm,
It uses it kind of throws you into the world and it says, "Hey, go." And it gives you a little
right,
bit of the controls, but there's no story-driven objective where somebody says, "Hey, go over here and collect 5 slimes," and that's your quest.
right.
So it's kind of go out and do your thing and learn what the game is about on your own. And those can be kind of hit or miss with me. That was my only complaint about the first one. But after you get past that and you have the reins on what you're doing, it was a lot of fun.
for sure. All right.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a lot of fun. And to your point about those, chill kind of, harvesting farming simulator games, I have a bone to pick with a Nintendo Direct that happened this week. If we can transition over to that, if you guys are good.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, a lot of announcements from this Nintendo Direct. While watching it, it felt like every other game was a farming simulator, though. So I went back. It is 45 minutes. Okay. I went back and I counted how many? 4. They have 4 Story of Seasons, A Wonderful Life, Fae Farm, Rune Factory 3, and Harvestella, which, you know, it isn't a lot, but it's more than I had expected. It felt like every other game they were talking about had a farming aspect to it, which is kind of funny that it's been so saturated now, I think, since the success of Stardew Valley, that, you know, even a game that's tangential to it, they'll include a farming aspect. And these have like their different gimmicks, and I'm sure, Alex, you're probably going to pick some of them up later because I know that's a little bit more your niche. Um, but I thought that was very interesting that we go from like 0 to 4. Some other announcements from the Nintendo Direct: Pikmin 4 finally announced. They didn't really show any gameplay. It was just a teaser trailer. I know how we all love mobile games, right?
Oh, of course. Who doesn't?
Right. Pikmin Bloom, which is the phone companion app. It's kind of like Pokemon Go, except for you just walk around, and behind you are these trails of Pikmin. And with your city, you can see which blocks you've walked and make patterns in it. And very interesting. Not my speed.
Now hold on,
Seems like
that
a
is
worth.
cool though.
No,
I
it is
don't
cool. It's a
like
cool
mobile
implementation.
games. So the Assassin's Creed mobile game that they talked about, or the Division that we talked about last week, I don't like mobile games in that sense. But Pokemon Go was a very unique twist on the mobile game that took the world by storm, right? And this, if it's, you said it seems very reminiscent of it, that's really cool. When you do, hey, I'm going to make a shooter on a mobile game or anything like that, kind of, okay, whatever. But this is a unique spin on it to where I don't really have anything negative to say.
I mean,
My thing is that outward looking in,
mhm.
looks like you just boot it up when you're walking around, and the only interaction is that like the trail behind you kind of gets painted, and you can pick up Pikmin in like the VR AR sort of environment, and then you can like raise the Pikmin, but there's not that much to Pokemon, for instance. There's like battling, there's gyms, there's evolutions, right? I think there's a lot more depth, and to Pikmin Bloom seems like a discount version of it. But again, haven't played it, but not my speed. But to your point, it's at least a more Nintendo creative approach to a mobile game.
Yes.
Paul, do you have something to say there?
I mean, for that one, I was just gonna say, like, at least it's kind of like an idle game.
Yeah.
To an extent. I mean, and by that I mean like you don't have to like actively interact with it. But
And then
yeah, I don't know.
I think this falls into the Nintendo niche of like health and fitness. That's why like the sports and the Ring Fit.
Sure,
Well,
sure.
I
Yeah.
think that's
You mentioned that they announced a Pikmin 4.
correct.
I didn't watch the Nintendo Direct at all, so I have no idea.
Okay.
But I wonder if this will integrate with that at all. Because it'd be, if there was a way to, you said that you could raise the Pikmin and do different things with them. If you could maybe after that import them into Pikmin 4, I think it would provide a lot more value to this game.
Agreed. And that might be a feature later on, but
Mhm.
they did not allude to that at all.
Okay.
They just said, hey, you know, while you're waiting for Pikmin 4, pick up your phone. And
Right,
Pikmin Bloom.
right.
You know? So that was a big announcement. Some others, surprising announcement before I get into the heavy hitters. Octopath Traveler 2, they announced, was coming out.
Oh yeah,
And
they
I
did
didn't
that
even know that
game.
game. Yeah, I didn't even know that game was in development. I might have missed my radar. Octopath Traveler 1, at least, has anybody played it here?
No, but wasn't
I
it like a
tried to.
You
Oh,
tried to.
okay.
Okay. Can you tell me why you put it down?
Okay. So maybe I'm thinking of the wrong game. But it got up because maybe I am thinking of the wrong game. Did it ever come to Xbox Game Pass?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Recently-ish, yeah.
Look it up real quick just to verify.
Let me
that
pull that up. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure.
Because I know the main complaint. So the gimmick about Octopath Traveler, to my knowledge, is that you can start Octopath, 8 paths. You can start as 8 different characters, and at some point, all the paths lead to one story, right? But I think they marketed pretty heavily that each individual story would be different and unique, and you could make whatever decisions you want.
Yeah,
Okay.
I did play this a little bit.
Okay.
Very,
Okay.
very little bit. They did bring it to Xbox.
Okay.
I was pretty sure on that. They did bring it to Xbox. It was on Game Pass. I don't know if it still is, but it. I was really excited. Everybody hyped this game up, right?
Mhm.
And it just wasn't my speed. It's one of those JRPGs where the characters are pixelated, very similar to the original Final Fantasy game. And for me, personally, it's just a personal thing. I have a hard time getting into a game where I have to do a lot of reading in order to get the story.
Yep.
I think it's very similar as to why I don't know the lore of Dragon Age, even though it's my favorite series, because
Right.
the lore is all baked into books and collectibles on the side. And I just don't have the patience to really dig through all of that and find it and piece it together. This was kind of similar, where it was, text based. I'm pretty sure there wasn't any voice acting or narration to it, at least the main story elements. So I think I got maybe 20 minutes in. I did
Okay.
a first battle and I think a second battle, and it was after that I was lost on it.
Right. Yeah, and those are just some of the symptoms of a JRPG,
Yep.
right? Or the characteristics. And I think a lot of the main complaints outside of that were this game sold you on the fact that it was very story, narrative driven, and you can make unique choices at each different path. And sometimes, no matter what you did, it kind of led you back to the same thing. And maybe they solved that with Octopath Traveler 2. I typically don't mind the reading so much, personally. I really love the art style because it's kind of Paper Mario esque, you know, where it's like 2D sprites, like standing up on kind of a 3D background sometimes. But we'll see. Paul, do you have anything to add before I move to the next game here?
For Octopath, no. Yeah,
Okay.
I got nothing.
Something else. Bayonetta 3 was officially announced.
Yes,
They're working
finally.
on. Okay, I know you're a big Bayonetta fan, Paul.
I am very excited, but please, let's.
Right. Yeah, so you come back, it's a couple hundred years later, and she is trying to help save the Earth again. That's the best recap of that game I can give. And finally, the biggest announcement that they made at the Nintendo Direct was Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. So this is Breath of the Wild 2. They officially gave it a new name, Tears of the Kingdom. They didn't really give us much of a gameplay trailer for it, but they said 2023 on it, which is really no surprise. I think most people expected for it to be a little bit more delayed. I think this falls into the timeline exactly for what they were thinking anyway. And I think it's May 2023. So it's like Q2 ish. Fun fact about it. Hey guys, what in the world news happened this week?
Oh, I mean, a lot. You'd have to narrow it down for me.
Okay, the Queen of England died,
That
right?
that's true. Yeah.
Okay. Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Fun fact is that this Nintendo Direct was the day after the Queen's death, and Nintendo didn't feel in good faith to broadcast The Legend of Zelda and advertise the new game at all because they thought it was a sensitive subject, which rightfully so. But I don't think the UK, I mean, probably by now they have it, but Nintendo didn't officially market the game Tears of the Kingdom in there. And I just thought that was interesting that they changed that so quickly, right? But
Yeah,
Is it
that's fair.
because of the name?
yeah, because of the name Tears of the Kingdom.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was
mean,
trying to piece in my head why,
Mhm.
and after visually seeing the name, that's where I thought that was going.
Yep.
Like,
That's it.
to be
Yeah.
fair, I think if I lived over there and I saw that, I would be like, okay, somebody's just making a distasteful joke on a Photoshop from like a screenshot of Breath of the Wild.
Right. Right. Because everybody thought it was going to be Breath of the Wild 2. That's kind of
Right.
how they addressed it previously. And now they've given it a different name, like a different official name.
I
Right.
don't know. I
And
don't think most people would have. I didn't catch that until you made the comment.
Right.
I appreciate the respect of Nintendo thinking about how it may affect somebody else. but I don't think I would have caught it had somebody not called it out to me. So
Right, me either, you know? But again, US, not UK.
yeah,
We've had no patriarchy, right?
true.
So
Monarchy is, I think, the word you're looking for.
monarchy. Damn. Yes. I hit all the other anarchy. No, we only have anarchy here.
That's kind of true. But did you see that game? What is it? Master Detective Archives Raincoat, I think it was.
I did see that. I don't have a lot of information on it if you have something.
I mean, the only thing I know, because I saw it and I was real interested, it's made by the same people that made Danganronpa or Danganronpa. I don't know how you say it, but the best way I would describe it is like a more mature, like Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney.
Okay.
So I'm actually excited about that because I do like puzzle games.
Right.
But yeah, nothing else really like stuck out to me from the Nintendo Direct.
I have one last thing from it.
Oh, okay.
So Nintendo's been pushing their online service, and one of the ways they've been doing that for their higher tier memberships is by including games from previous consoles, right? NES, N64.
Okay.
So they've added a couple more titles and slated more titles for the N64 portion of that. If
Mhm.
you have the higher tier Nintendo Online package,
Okay.
Mario Party
Nice.
1, 2, and 3.
Does it get online
With-
support?
I think they said yes. On that.
That is awesome.
And so Mario Party, because those games are really expensive too to
yeah.
purchase for,
Oh,
the,
I
for the
bet.
cartridges. Yeah, they're like $60 a piece still if you can get it.
Mhm.
So Mario Party 1 and 2, they said by the end of 2022. That's when they're slated. Mario Party 3, beginning of next year. They also talked about Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2 coming in 2023, which are really fun games included in a package like this. Have you ever played? Paul, I know you haven't, but Alex, have you played Pokemon Stadium?
Oh yeah, I wore the shit out of that cartridge for Pokemon Stadium.
Okay.
So my favorite thing about Pokemon Stadium,
Yeah,
the unique Coliseum styled battles were cool, but weirdly enough, my favorite thing was I had the adapter for the back of the controller where you could put your Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow cartridge in. And Pokemon Stadium had a support where you could play those games from the cartridge. And I was just playing Pokemon Red on the big screen TV.
really?
Yeah. And I think that was probably one of my favorite things as an 8-year-old child.
Yeah, I have a soapbox here for my Pokemon Stadium. Okay. As a child, I had an N64 and we bought the game. And I don't know if you did this as kids, but if somebody else had like an N64 and you had one, you'd be like, hey, you want to like trade games for like a week, right?
Mm-hmm.
And be like, I'll give you, in my case, I gave them my Pokemon Stadium 1. Actually, it's Pokemon Stadium 2. And they gave me their Super Smash Brothers, okay, for the N64.
Okay.
The kid's name is Ryan. I don't remember his last name, deleted it from my mind, but I know his first name is Ryan. And I gave him back at the end of the week his Super Smash Brothers.
Oh no.
The kid never fucking gave me back my
Oh,
Pokemon
no.
Stadium 2. Never.
Wow.
Never in my life. Like I went up all the flagpoles of escalation that you can is like, and this is like first grade, second grade,
Yeah.
you know, as a kid, and just nothing. So I was out 2 games. If I knew he wasn't going to give me my Pokemon Stadium 2 back, I would have kept the Super Smash Brothers. But then he fucking moved. Like he had planned it. Like Mission Impossible. Like second grade. Yeah. Yeah, I hate that. So
Ryan,
that's my trauma about
if
it.
you're out there watching this, we're coming for you.
Give me my fucking game back. Yeah. Like,
Wow.
Jesus.
You know, funny enough,
Yeah.
I have a similar story. It was
You stole the game.
where I stole the game.
Yes, I know. You're the fucking
Chaotic
problem,
evil.
Alex.
I am the problem. So I let somebody, but it wasn't a 1-for-1 like that. So Pokemon Stadium, right? S tier game. Super Smash Brothers, S tier game. 1-for-1 swap. Had you kept the Smash Brothers, there's no loss there.
No, I actually probably make money because the Smash Brothers is worth more
Yeah.
for the N64 than it is
So
for yeah.
I traded. It was, I believe it was Mario Power Tennis for the GameCube.
Wow. Okay.
And it wasn't a trade. It was a, you borrow this and I'll borrow this. And in 2 weeks, we'll trade back. So I let this guy, Nick, borrow my Mario Power Tennis. And he let me borrow Legend of Zelda Wind Waker.
Okay.
Oof.
2 weeks go by. He gives me my game back. I say, hey, I'm really sorry, but I didn't get a whole lot of time to play it. Is there any chance I can have another week? He said, yeah, take as long as you need. Play through it because I want to talk about it with you. 3 weeks go by and he's harassing me for this game still. I said, yeah, no, I'm still playing it. And I legitimately was, by the way.
Right.
A couple more weeks go by. And this kid picked on me too. He had a group of friends and they all kind of picked on me. One of the guys, side story, during PE, he got one of his friends before I had borrowed this game to, with his soccer cleats on, kick me as hard as he could in my crotch.
Oh no.
So I don't feel bad stealing this kid's game.
No.
He was
No,
a
that's
bully.
fair.
Yeah.
But I was legitimately playing it. It wasn't my intention to actually take the game.
Mhm.
We go into summer, 6th going into 7th grade, and I don't have any classes with him, and I don't ever see him.
Mhm.
I think I saw him once wandering around campus, and I didn't have the game with me, so I hid.
Fair enough.
And you know what? I don't even have that game anymore. It's sitting at Paul's house.
Wow.
Yep.
You know what?
I don't even know who that is, so it's mine now.
Hey, quick wrap up. If he's listening, what do you think of Wind Waker in a sentence?
Probably one of the best Zelda games of all time.
Wow. And there you have it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And that's all I had. So those are the interesting. Oh, one last thing. Bombshell, GoldenEye. They're releasing also. And
Oh
that's going to be
yeah.
2023. And with online play.
The OG
Online
1v1 me
play,
on Rust.
right?
Really? That is the OG 1v1 me on Rust.
Online only play, by the way, exclusive to Switch.
Right.
Nice.
Right.
Yeah, I know. But did you guys get to see the Sony State of Play?
I saw bits and pieces of it. I know of some stuff that happened, but please.
Okay, so I watched it. Some pretty big stuff I think was announced. They of course, announced the God of War sequel, God of War Ragnarok. And to be fair, it looks great. I don't know, did you guys play God of War? Like
The last God of War game I have played was for my PSP in like 2010.
okay, so like God of War
I have
Revengeance or something, right?
something like that.
Yeah.
It was not Justice. Oh, I forget. What's the voice actor's name?
No idea.
Oh, okay. His last name's Justice. I forget his first name. But yeah, that's the last one I played, and they're very different now. They're very
Yes,
different. That was kind of like a
very.
hack and slash, and it was like a port of a like tangent game. It wasn't even like part of the core series, I don't think.
The last
but
one I played was God of War 1.
Oh boy.
That was it. And I think I played 30 or 40 minutes of it, and that was it.
Okay.
I've never been into the series. I've never been able to get into it.
I think Christopher Judge is his name. Thank you, Rain.
I think that might be it. Okay, so I have played them all. Literally every single one.
Mhm.
They're great. I mean, for me, I'm just a big sucker for mythology. So, it's mythology, it's hack and slash, like obviously as we said for Bayonetta on the Nintendo side. Big fan of that because again, it's very like Devil May Cry. Love it. So it looks fantastic. But they are also releasing it on PS4, so I don't have to rush out and buy a PS5. Some other interesting ones they announced is they had this one called Like a Dragon, Inshun. Uh, you play as a samurai, but it's actually from the people who made Yakuza, if you guys are familiar with those games at all.
Familiar, never played.
Okay. Um, and really the interesting part to me is the fact that they're made by those same developers. Simply
Okay.
because they jam pack their Yakuza games with tons of stuff to do, like hundreds of hours of stuff. So this could be a real fun one to sink your teeth into. And I mean, hey, it's samurai. It's like what was that one game? Ghosts of Tsushima.
Right.
That one did really well, and this one looks really cool. They had another samurai game, Ronin, but this one's being made by Team Ninja,
Okay.
which they're the ones that do the Ninja Gaiden series, if you guys know those.
I'm familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one looks really cool, but I'll be honest, I think the Like a Dragon is gonna be better. They announced a effectively what are they calling it? PlayStation Stars program.
I saw that. Do you have any details on what that looks like?
Uh Not for like pricing or anything, but from what I saw is you can get virtual items. So like
Okay.
a virtual PlayStation 3, stuff from some of their super big games like Ape Escape. Um Honestly, they kind of scream NFT, but they said that they're not NFTs.
Okay.
It's just stuff to like show off on your like profile for PlayStation.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll see. And then one that they talked about, that to be fair, I'm very excited for, is Hogwarts Legacy. The Harry Potter like RPG one.
Yeah, they officially came out with a release date for that, didn't they?
Yeah, February 10th.
Okay. Beginning of next year.
Is
Okay.
that a
Yeah,
pushback? Because I thought I saw holiday 2022
I believe it is.
a
Yes.
while
Probably
back,
is. Yeah.
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 Um,
which makes sense because it looks like a very ambitious title.
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. I'm actually really excited for it. Although I'm bummed that they ended up talking about it at the State of Play, because the reason they talked about it at the State of Play is PlayStation gets an exclusive quest and an exclusive shop that you have, that like they said, if you sell your stuff there, you can get a higher price for it than any other shop in the game.
Hmm.
Well, it's
Um,
exclusive for a year, right?
yeah, but I mean, still, like, exclusives, man. Like, get full on games, I kind of get. You got to sell your systems, but why do you got to chop stuff up to do this?
Money.
Like,
I mean, they've been doing this for a long time. I mean, Destiny is a great example, I think,
mm,
where they were getting like Destiny, they would get an extra quest or they get a DLC package a year ahead of time, like any other console
Destiny is
stuff.
an
And
outlier because Bungie and Microsoft don't have good blood between them.
right.
I feel it's an outlier, and that may have been more of a dig at Xbox as a company and
Hmm.
giving Sony more exclusive stuff more over than anything else. But yeah, companies have been doing it for a while. To Paul's point, I get the exclusive titles, right? PlayStation has God of War. PlayStation has Last of
Last of
Us,
Us.
There's
Uncharted,
Horizon.
right? It's
Mm-hmm.
their studios making games for them. It makes 100% sense that it'd be an exclusive. Unfortunately, that's what drives me to buy all of the consoles so that I can play these exclusives. But I do agree that you get this extra multiplayer map, you get multiplayer first, you get these extra quests, these extra weapons. You get the better stuff simply because you are playing on the system that we are exclusive for. I'm not a big fan of that.
I'm not
Me either.
either, because what that tells me is like there are two things happening. Either a company like, Nintendo, because they're guilty of it now too, with the GoldenEye multiplayer only on Switch, uh, for online at least, or Sony or Microsoft goes up to a game studio and says, "Hey, you're making a game. Um, we will either pay you extra money to develop something just for us, or we'll pay you this money to cut out a piece of your game that you've already created and save it just for us."
Right.
Like they're straight up interfering in development, in my opinion.
I mean, no, I think that's pretty clear. I don't think they would have included a shop that just has, extra stuff in it, right? This definitely seems like an added development where Sony approached them and said, "Hey, we want something special," and they're like, "The best I can give you is a store where your stuff is worth more," and that's not going to be in the game if they don't have that conversation otherwise.
Right. Well, what about the exclusive mission and stuff too? Like, I mean, I don't know. I guess this one's kind of little, but it's just more of like, I feel like if we don't kind of call it out now and say something, it's just gonna get worse. Like, it's one mission, one store for now, but like they did the same thing with Spider-Man in that Avengers game.
Mm-hmm.
We saw it in Destiny for the guns. The some of them didn't even come to the other systems until Destiny 2 came out.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I guess maybe the big thing is obviously Microsoft, and Xbox acquired or is attempting to acquire Blizzard Activision, right?
Right.
Sony has been making a huge stink about Call of Duty specifically potentially becoming a Microsoft platform exclusive. And I understand the getting mad about, you know, entirely exclusive stuff. Like, I'd love to be able to play God of War on my Xbox, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like it's extra scummy to be like yelling about an exclusive game and then doing all this other stuff. It's like, well, we're gonna cut this from you, we're gonna cut that from you, and we just want
Well,
more money.
That might be a
it's
response.
it's really simple. Okay, them doing it's fine. Other people doing it's not okay.
I didn't
Well,
think of it from that angle.
Right.
Here's my
Right.
thought. Xbox has been acquiring a ton of game studios. Xbox and Bethesda are partners now, right? Xbox and Blizzard Activision are. I don't know if that merger has actually gone through or not, but so from Sony's perspective, Xbox is acquiring all these game studios, and now PlayStation loses Elder Scrolls. PlayStation loses Fallout. PlayStation loses Call of Duty. PlayStation loses Diablo. Those are AAA titles that, like I said, Sony has Naughty Dog, and they create I don't know if they do God of War. I think they do Uncharted. I think they might do Last of Us. Could be wrong.
They do. Yeah.
So Sony's clapback is this. And maybe I don't have the timeline correct, but it seems like Xbox may have started this first by acquiring all these studios, taking away the exclusives, and putting them between PC and Xbox. And Sony may be trying to grab straws to see what they can do, right? If you want to play Hogwarts. For a while, I thought the Hogwarts Legacy was only on PlayStation because that's where it was all advertised for.
Yeah, I just looked it up. It's also on the Switch somehow.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah. So
So
that'll be interesting.
I think it might be Sony's clapback in response to Microsoft, Xbox. And my opinion is you should, if you own Call of Duty now, right?
Mhm.
You own Diablo. Would you rather cut your sales effectively in half to get it away from Sony? Or would you rather upcharge Sony and say, hey, we'll sell, but you're going to have to pay royalties on each sale? They sell the game, it's their own studio, Bethesda, for example, and they make a royalty for it being on the Sony store. I don't know the logistics of it all, but I would be hard pressed to believe that Xbox buying companies and making them exclusive to Xbox, I'd be hard pressed to believe that that is driving players from PlayStation to Xbox. I don't think that's the case. I could be wrong.
Right. And I don't think to the point, anything that comes out for like as an Xbox exclusive also comes out on PC. I don't know of another example of like a recent title that's either in development or shortly has been released recently that hasn't been both on like PC and Xbox, because ultimately Microsoft doesn't care, right? Sell it to you on PC, you get it on Windows, and you have to come to me or go to Steam, and they get a cut of Steam anyway, right? And sometimes I think they'll just put it on their store too and advertise it on like PC Game Pass too, or Game Pass Ultimate.
Mhm.
But I think to your point, I'm not sure that there has been anyone saying, because the exclusives aren't as like narrative driven as PlayStation. Your God of Wars, your Last of Us.
Right.
There's just no equivalent necessarily that would take somebody from the PlayStation camp and then take them over to Xbox. It's usually people who either play on PC or have an Xbox that want to get a PS5 to play those games, like you said earlier, right? So I think it works in the other direction, but I don't think it's necessarily worked in the from PS5 to an Xbox.
I would agree with that.
Call of Duty could be an interesting one though, because I know that's always one of the biggest sellers every year. I don't know, maybe it's just too early to tell right now, but we'll see.
Yeah, I can't really see that ultimately being an exclusive for Xbox or PC, but I'm not an executive over at Xbox, so I have no idea what they're planning.
I will say, given what they paid for them, I wouldn't blame them if they did it.
Yeah, they paid through the nose for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that was I know we kind of got off on a tangent, but that was the Sony state of play.
Yeah, they also announced Tekken 8, which is
Oh
cool
yeah,
for
yeah.
people who like Tekken. And there's at the very beginning there's a Star Wars PlayStation VR game, which is pretty cool. If you like VR, it's in development currently. They got the IP for it. It's probably an exclusive to PlayStation because it's on their VR2 system. But
Yeah, probably.
interesting.
Yeah.
If you ever want to moonlight as a captain or as someone from the Star Wars universe, I think it's probably pretty cool. I don't have a VR headset. I know both of you do.
Yeah.
I haven't really. I don't think it's made sense for me to pull the trigger on it, but it's neat that they're still developing games for it, and especially in a universe that's as unique or has so much information and stuff to work from, like Star Wars does.
Oh
So
yeah.
hopefully it'll be good.
I mean, I think it might be. They did what is it? Star Wars Battle Squadrons, and you could play that in VR. So if it's anything like that, I think it'll be pretty good actually.
Yeah, so it's not. So it is first person still, obviously VR,
Uh-huh.
but I don't think the whole time you're in the spacecraft, and I think Battle Stations is. may be wrong on that. I think they're trying to incorporate like you actually like running around and shooting enemies and being on like a space, like a larger spaceship, not like necessarily piloting one.
Okay, that could
But
be dope.
it could be a component of it too, since that's already there.
Right. That could
But
be
yeah, that's
very
all.
dope.
But that's all I have as far as the Sony State of Play. Is there anything else you were looking to add there, Alex?
Not on that, but I have some
Okay.
speculation on Assassin's Creed from last week.
Oh,
Ooh,
yeah,
okay,
let's
I'm
go.
ready.
Yeah, so Assassin's Creed Hexe. I thought it was Assassin's Creed Hex.
I did too.
And the extra E was just there, but I thought the pronunciation was the same. Maybe when I first saw it, maybe Hexe was how, because Ubisoft is a predominantly French company with
Right.
some operations in different countries, but
Yeah,
predominantly
French Canadian.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, they also have Singapore. They have, I believe, they have something in the US. Could be wrong, but
Right,
I
but I think
assumed,
the studio is French Canadian, not like French.
yeah, I assumed it was some form of French pronunciation. And what
Mhm.
does hex mean? Hex is kind of like a curse that you would place on someone. So going down the path of which was the speculation. Well, hexe actually translates from German.
Oh,
Okay.
Hexe is German for witch.
let's
So
go.
still on the correct
Seems,
path.
I don't know, seems too much like a coincidence to me.
Seems too
It seems too on the nose.
D,
You mean
not
they're
enough
going to name
information.
D, not enough information on that one.
So Hexe is German for witch.
Okay.
Now, in the trailer, they show towards the end the Assassin's Creed logo made out of some branches of twine and sticks, you know.
Mhm.
And there's kind of like a circular background with like a pentacle in there, right?
Okay.
With some random inscriptions on it. Well, those inscriptions aren't random.
Oh,
They translate.
Oh, you busted out the red string.
to
Nice.
what?
No. I've been deep in the rabbit hole of the internet this week.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought this is
Yeah.
Detective Alex putting on his hat and getting to work.
What does it
I would
translate?
I mean, I guess
never
it is.
be able to. I don't have the
Okay.
brain power that the internet has.
I
They're much smarter than we
guess
are.
that's, and also much dumber.
And simultaneously much dumber.
Really.
So I've this week I've been really into Assassin's Creed. That's all I've been playing for the most part, and
Okay.
I have made it a personal mission that I'm going to play through 100% of it. I bought all the DLC because it's on sale on Xbox for the 15-year anniversary. I made it a personal mission that I'm going to play through all of the campaigns and 100% of the DLC, and I'm going to try to finish them all by the end of the year
Oof.
or early next year. There are some that I haven't played. Odyssey was one that I stopped a bit through. I've been on Valhalla recently, so been kind of down this rabbit hole. So back to these inscriptions on the back of this medallion pentacle object. It translates from the alphabet of the Magi.
Okay.
How anybody was able to figure this out and transcribe it is beyond me. How do you even begin to take a random lines, right? That's what it is. It's just a bunch of lines and figure out what language it comes from. The alphabet of the Magi is not even like a common language that you would think like, oh, let me try to translate. So translates from the alphabet of the Magi, and it translates into Mephisto, avenge our family. Well, I should say it translates into Ratche, I believe.
It sounds like he's summoning a demon right now. I'm going to be honest.
A little bit.
Yeah. So if you break apart the circle and the pentacle, I guess the outside. What did the outside translate to? It translates to, I think, within the light, the dark. I can pull that up again, but the outside translates, and the inside circle pentacle translates from German to Mephisto, avenge our house. Which sounds like kind of like an incantation kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. I should reiterate to make it a little more clear. It doesn't translate to English, Mephisto, avenge our house. It translates to German. And German translates English to Mephisto, avenge our house.
Okay.
So, my initial
So it's
thought,
in Germany.
Exactly. My initial thought was, okay, this must be Salem Witch Trials, right?
Right.
It's speculated that it's going to be in Germany, and it'll be the German witch trials of 1625 to 1631.
That's dope, actually, because I didn't even know Germany had witch trials.
I didn't either.
I didn't even know Germany had witches.
Yeah.
I didn't know Germany had trials.
That's, yeah.
No, that one I believe. That one, that
No
one
trials, only sentences.
Only sentences.
Pretty much what it is,
complex
right?
words.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Witch
so
trials
the internet
is a hard word to use when it.
Yeah. It's more like a witch sentencing.
Mhm.
Back to no, that's true.
I'm going to burn you at the cross, and if you live, you must be a witch. And if not, then we're sorry, but you're dead.
Yeah, you're dead.
Damn.
So, yeah, that's the speculation that it'll be the German witch trials.
I'm down.
Which would be really cool, right? Assassin's Creed has gone all over the world, all over the timeline.
But never to Germany.
We already had in America, right? The
was 4, no.
3.
3. Yeah.
Assassin's Creed 3, where it was the American Revolution.
Yep.
We already had the French Revolution and Unity.
Yep.
We've been throughout pretty much all of Europe.
Yeah.
Rome and Sparta.
Yeah.
Yep.
All of Italy.
Yeah.
Syndicate was, I believe, England.
Yeah, London.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm excited to see this and see where it takes us. And so my speculation here for the newest Assassin's Creed was kind of the main focus. They talked about going away from, it sounds like they're talking about going away from the RPG, going back to the classic story-driven narrative where it's 20 to 25 hours of story and then the game's over, not 100 hours of an RPG. So I think, and they said that I could have swore in the Ubisoft conference, they said that Hexe was going to be different or unique somehow. I think Hexe will probably go back to that RPG style. And all of the Assassin's Creed I've noticed, it doesn't matter if it's correct or, I should say, it doesn't matter if it's scientifically correct or incorrect, right? Does Odin and Valhalla and Thor, do all of them exist? No. But from a mythological standpoint, that is what our great ancestors believed in. So they keep that and they play off of that as if it was real, because it was real to these people in this time period. I'm wondering if Assassin's Creed Hexe is going to, you'll be an assassin, but I wonder if you'll have some kind of incantation powers.
Yo, like supernatural powers. Let's go.
Yes.
That'd be
They
interesting.
did say it was going to be different.
Yeah.
I'm down.
So I think that will probably, what was it, Codename Red that was Japan? That will probably keep with the story narrative. What else did they announce? They announced Infinity, which is just the platform. I believe that's just going to be a platform where all of the games are there and you just have kind of a timeline and you can say, I want to play in 1960, and those are the games that are built around that timeline. But I think this is going to be interesting.
I'm going to push back on you. I think this will be narrative driven.
You think?
I think so.
Okay.
It would be a shame to go to such a cool place, right? With such cool mythology and have it not be story driven. I will be disappointed if it's not. Not to say that you're wrong necessarily, but I am just hoping that this is more of the,
Sorry, let me reiterate.
Sorry.
When I say story driven, I mean linear story driven.
Yes, and that's what I want.
You have point A to point B, and there's really nothing else. There are no side quests. There's nothing else on the side for you. I think Hexe will be more back to the RPG style, and it'll be less of the go here, go here, go here, game over. It'll be, here's where you're at, go figure stuff out, because I think you'll have the option to, hey, there are these witches over here. Are you going to save them? Are you going to free them? Or are you going to let them suffer? I think you'll have options like that.
I just think that there are too many cool, like, narrative. Sorry, Paul. Too many cool, like, narrative driven things that they can do with a place like this during a time like that they would be like remiss if they're amiss or whatever that word is if they didn't.
Well, it'll still be that narrative. So Valhalla is still narrative driven,
right?
And there's still an overarching story going from point A to point B, and point B is the end of the game. But before you get to point B, you have a ton of options that you can choose. You have upgrades that you can do. You could be more of the stealthy bowman. You could be more of the, I'm just going to go in like a Viking badass and murder the shit out of everything in front of me. Fuck, what is stealth, right?
Right.
I think Hexe may return to that with the still overarching story, but I think they'll give you those, what are you going to do here? What are you going to do? If they decide to make you a witch and go with the supernatural route, what kind of witch are you going to be? Are you going to be the good one that helps these other ones? Or are you going to be more, fuck your enemies, I'm going to let them burn?
Right. And I think that, man, I just really hope that they return to more of a narrative driven, because I think that's what people are wanting. I think that there's some level of fatigue with like open world games, and not like bad open world, like not like a Breath of the Wild like thing, but like something that's relatively empty and like computer generated in some aspects, right? Because it's hard to fill a world with everything that you could ever want to do. I think that this push with like all these other games, that Hexe, is that what you said?
Hexe, yeah.
Hexe will be more of a return to like a narrative story, because it's such a cool time. They can play with all these elements, and that it will be a little bit more linear, but they're looking, I think, Ubisoft is looking for, they see the success that Sony has, right? And ultimately they're trying to sell games, so they look at God of Wars is something that they can maybe mimic. And what's the best sort of, game or IP that they have to do that? I think it's Assassin's Creed, right? In that they can tap into some mythology here with this game. I just think it's too cool of an opportunity to pass. They might do like another Valhalla for this game, but I really, really hope it's a little bit more linear and it's just rich with story and interesting like characters.
So I did look at the area. So I know, Paul, you have something to say. I have one thing back on that. I think people are getting tired of the open worlds with how huge they are. To say that this game is 40 times larger than the last one, I'm sitting here with a 40-hour work week and 2
Yeah.
kids thinking,
Yeah.
I can't play this.
The parts of
I
the map I will never see.
That's the map I'll never see. I can't play it. I can't
Right.
explore it all. So I think people are starting to realize that that's too much. That The Witcher 3 having over 100 hours of gameplay just for the main story may be a little much.
Yeah,
And
ambitious.
I'm willing to bet that they probably have data on how many people have actually completed the campaign. And I think they're seeing that it's far less than what it should be, because you just get lost in all these side quests and exploring this big open world that you never get to finish it. You're 200 hours in and you've only done the second quest, the second main quest. So I do agree with you there. I think people are getting a little, I think the open worlds are a little cumbersome to people. The large open worlds, the area of these witch trials, they're called the Wurzburg witch trials. The area is pretty large in Germany, like more than half of Germany, it looked like. So that's a thing. But I would agree that I want the world to be smaller. I want more focus on the linear, on the narrative. But I would still want the option. I like the option to choose. Do I want to save these people? Do I not? Do I want these people to burn, or should I drown them? Kind of thing.
Right.
Like if I'm given that kind of power, I want to be able to make that choice.
And I agree, but I just think there are too many choices without meaning. There's like, oh, do I save these people or do I not save these people? Does it matter to the overarching story? Does it hurt my character at all? Is there any interesting development if I do this one way or another?
I have a theory.
Go ahead, Paul.
Please.
So, and this would incorporate the more closed off world, return to form, and it would also be something different. What if instead of playing as an assassin this time, right, and you're playing on the side of the assassins, they do kind of like Rogue did. You're not playing an assassin, you're playing a witch hunter. What if
That'd
you're
be
hunting them down?
That would be cool.
That'd be neat. Yeah.
Because then your character wouldn't have to have all the supernatural powers or whatever. Your gadgets and stuff are like anti-witch stuff. Like, I don't know, something to blow the salt circle away, and things to counteract that stuff. And then your choices would matter because it's like, do I kill them or do I let this one go?
Right.
No, I definitely agree. I think that would be cool, and that would be. I think it might be a little difficult to pull off an Assassin's Creed where you have supernatural powers and witch powers. So I do like that approach instead. If you were a witch hunter instead, and I guess a witch hunter would be a Templar in this lore.
Yeah, and it would make sense that they're hunting them down because they're always after those powerful artifacts like the pieces of Eden.
Yeah.
Right. And it might tie back overarching into like some more of that, which would make sense.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Although I will say, I think on that note, guys, unfortunately, I gotta wrap things up here. I gotta get going.
Yeah, no worries.
But thanks so much for hanging out, and I'll talk to you guys next week. Yeah.
Yeah.
See you next week.
All right. Later.
Bye.
Yep.